All right, good afternoon, Lauren. Thank you for being here for your post-conference for observation number 3. This is your last one. How's it feel?
Good.
Yay. That's awesome. All right. Do you want to start with the reflective practice or the post-conference form?
We can do the reflective practice first.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate you sending me those files ahead of time. I was able to look through them. So, all right, let's look at it. So tell me, who were your students? What did you teach? What was the setting? And when and where?
So I implemented my third lesson at McKeel Academy Central in Miss Kearney's second grade class yesterday, November 9th. The lesson was about identifying the initial and ending phonemes, which corresponds to phonemic awareness and decoding the words. And the lesson was small group and it lasted for 30 minutes.
Great. Okay. And then tell me about the key teaching skills that you used in your lesson.
So I selected the high quality academic feedback, strong subject content knowledge, multi-sensory instruction, and fostering student engagement.
And why did you pick those?
I picked strong subject knowledge because like the first one I didn't have that much subject knowledge, and I was trying to keep having a high content knowledge for my second and third one, so I knew what the students were teaching, or what I was teaching and what the students were learning. I also use multi-sensory instruction and student engagement because I do want to keep the students engaged throughout the whole lesson. And if one student is just a visual learner and the other one's a verbal and like can listen, like if I just stick to one sense, it's not gonna help everyone in the class. It's just gonna help the certain ones that are good with that one sense. And then I selected providing high quality academic feedback because that's a key teaching skill that I do need to work on.
Well, great explanations. And I want to emphasize for the people watching this, whoever does that, I'm really proud of your subject knowledge improvement. You've worked really hard on that, and I can definitely see a difference between the beginning and the end of a semester. Great job on that. And then I felt like you used a lot of multisensory engaging activities in this phonemic awareness lesson, which on the surface, like you can think like, how am I going to make this multisensory? But you were able to do that with some of the resources that you use. So great job using those key teaching skills. Okay, so we kind of already did the next question about why you chose them. So how do you think the key teaching skills impacted the students? And do you have any examples as evidence?
I think the key teaching skills impacted the students because just how Miss Kearney said, like I created an environment for students to be wrong and that they could try again. If a student did get it wrong, then I made sure they were going the right way and had them try again. And then for the multi-sensory and fostering student engagement, it allowed the students to understand the information provided and keep them involved in the lesson. Just how they did like the game, they really liked the game. So then we played it again because they were involved and was helping them learn. And then the high quality academic feedback, I think it allowed them to feel reassured in their answers, but I did just say good job, so I need to work on like going in depth of what they did correctly.
Yeah, I saw that you wrote that down in your reflection there at I think it was at the bottom, maybe that you wanted to work on. That's the next question that you thought you wanted to work on, the academic feedback. It's easy to say good job, and I do it myself. But sometimes, reiterating what we did a good job for, it just becomes like a habit to say that. And it's like a habit we have to break. So I know you can do it. It'll take a little bit of practice, but okay, what would you do differently and why next
Um,
time?
like I said, probably with is it Elkney? Is that how you say them? The
I
Elk.
always heard it was El Conan, but
Okay,
I don't know.
okay.
Yeah.
Conan boxes. Like how Miss Kearney said, like having them put all the chips in a box for each letter that they have and then pull down the initial and ending sounds, which probably could have helped them more maybe by touching it with the different chips, and then definitely having stronger academic feedback.
Yeah, and I think like most of the kids in the group were getting it, but there was kind of that one on the end that was struggling. So that could have even been like in the future when you are doing lessons, if you want to do something like that and you're in primary, you could do that almost as like a differentiation strategy. It doesn't even have to be something you do for all of them if they're getting the initial and final, but it could just be that for that one kid, that's something that a little minor adjustment that you make just to try to help them. So, but I thought it was very tactile. Okay, what did you learn about yourself regarding this lesson implementation?
I learned that small group is more inclusive because this was my first small group. I did learn that I do like small group over whole class instruction, and that you can really tell whether a student is picking up the information or not in a small group rather than a whole class lesson.
Yeah, that's so very true. Um, and it's kind of easier to practice at the beginning with them because there's fewer of them to worry about, right?
Yeah.
So it was unique that you did that. So you've kind of gotten a sample of lots of different ways to do your observation. So thank you for doing that and trying something different. All right, let's move on to the post observation conference. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me about the data that you used to plan the lesson and how was it used? I'm sorry, tell me about the usefulness of the data you used to plan the lesson.
I used the data not the pre-service, I don't know why I put that in. The cooperating teacher told me about with each student and what they were comfortable with and what they're not. And then she also gave me different instructional strategies that help each of the students that were in the small group.
Yeah. And so did you hear me ask her about, was this her tiered group? And she said, yes. Do you know what that means? Okay. So I thought about that after I left. So basically, like if students are not getting, they're not performing well, let's say in reading, then what we are required as teachers to do is to do interventions with these students. And they're usually 20 to 30 minutes. In the first tier, which is like, so tier one is just like your whole group instruction that you do for everyone. And if that's not working, then you go to tier two. And that may be, I think it's like 30 minutes every day that you do. So she probably pulls that group back. And I don't know if you saw, but there was that other group doing the chapter books. Those are probably her kids doing real well with reading. And so she's got that group back there and she's working with them on specific skills that they need. And then she has to use research-based strategies, which is what you did with the FCRR. And then she has to document like how they're doing. And if they're not improving with that, then they move to the next tier, which I think is 20 to 30 minutes, like 3 times a week. And at that point, you're collecting data. And if they're not showing progress, there may be something where the school psychologist would evaluate them and they may be referred for like ESE services or something like that to try to help them. So it's basically like supports that we put in place to try to help them. I just didn't know if you knew that or not. Okay. Tell me about how you use the pre-observation conference feedback to improve your lesson.
Definitely with the independent practice, I changed the one activity I had, and then I changed it to the Elkonin, no, Elkonin,
Yeah, I think so. Or you can say boxes, whatever. Yeah.
boxes, which I changed, which I do think did help the students.
Yes, I think so too. I appreciate you being willing to listen to feedback. You know, Ms. Kearney kind of suggested something different and we were kind of brainstorming in our pre-conference and you just rolled with it. So that was great. Okay, tell me how you used your knowledge of the content area and instructional strategies that you've learned in your coursework at Florida Southern to plan and implement the lesson.
So I used my knowledge of the content area and the instructional strategies that I learned in my language arts class by effectively and clearly stating the directions and the learning objectives to the students and having them do multisensory activities. And then I also had the students work in a small group, small group discussion with each activity so they knew like the different, like they were following what each student was doing.
And I also have to add to that, I believe you told me you watched some videos on phonemic awareness, right? To
Yeah,
get
I did.
strong content knowledge. And you also practiced a lot, you said. So that was all things that you did in addition to what you've learned at Florida Southern, right?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about how your instruction, guided practice, wrap up, and assessments were clearly aligned to the learning target and how they were at the appropriate level of complexity, and what impact did this alignment have on student learning?
So I think the instruction, guided practice, and wrap up did align to the phonemic awareness and having the students identify the initial and ending phoneme. I had the students decode the word by identifying the initial and ending phoneme. So it helped them to break apart the word and learn the different. And I explained what a phoneme was also in the instruction for them.
And what impact do you think it had on their learning?
Yeah. I think it helped them definitely because I explained that the phoneme was the sound, so they know what initial means now and what ending means, like the first sound and the second or the last sound, so they can break apart the words. Just how I think it was Aiden, he kind of said like the middle part
Mhm.
sometimes, so correcting him in that so he knows what the initial and ending sounds are.
And it was a nice touch how you had them like act it out too, I think, so they could know like what that meant. Like you said, you were hitting different senses so that if you're not an auditory person, maybe by moving my body, I can understand what it means. Okay, that kind of leads us to the next one, how you verbalize the objective in student-friendly language and how you communicated that learning target to students. Explain whether or not the techniques used for referring back to the objective throughout the lesson and at the wrap-up were implemented appropriately.
So I verbalized the objective of the lesson in a student-friendly way in the beginning and ending of the lesson, and then I had them do the hand gesture with the mission statement of what they did learn or what they're going to learn in the beginning, and then what they did learn at the end. I do think the hand gestures and telling them what they were going to learn did help, so they knew from the beginning what they were looking for, like in the lesson.
And it's interesting too that they've obviously been going back to the back table like all year probably, and they did not know what a phoneme was. So that was really good that you kind of broke that down for them, because I'm sure they've been asked what's the initial phoneme or what's the first sound, but they just didn't even know what it was. So I'm glad you kind of broke that down for them. Okay, what evidence do you have that the students learned the content of the required standards and met the objective or learning target?
I didn't know because the other question, also number 7, sorry, I just went
Yes.
through this. It says like to have evidence, but it's in the video, so I didn't know if you wanted me to like put like
Are you able to take like a screenshot or something of what their like of the video, are you able to see their boxes and what they had in the video?
I'll have to look. I'm not sure
Okay.
entirely. I just wanted to say that. I
Okay.
wasn't sure.
Yeah. Yeah, do you remember what each of their answers were? Because the one at the end, I think, didn't get it. Yeah. So I would see if you can take a screenshot of maybe the video and where you would at least be able to get those ones in the front. There was only 4, so I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Or if you can even see it and you can duplicate it yourself, because you still have the boxes, right? So you could take a picture of that. That would work. Like if you
Okay.
just see what they did and just redo it so that you have a picture of it, because you obviously couldn't teach the lesson and take a picture, right? So